Alright, evening. Okay, so just see Simon Kirk's video. Simon Block giving his explanation about the watch, him being extorted out of thousands, him fleeing the country, leaving his family, basically in the gutter, while he's just basically flapping around, you know what I mean, on the run. Being a coward. Simon, you absolute victim. You absolute victim, mush. So you was summoned into Daz Dillinger's office where you was surrounded by one other security guard. How can you be surrounded by one other person? Why was you phoning your business partner asking them to put £1,000 in your account so you could be extorted out of money so you could leave without getting a slap? What's happened to going down with your shield or going down with your sword? Whatever, you know what I mean? Jesus Christ, mate. When you're in a situation like that, fight or flee, it's fight. You was going to get a few slaps anyway. You may as well gone down swinging, you absolute fucking wimp. You're a victim, mate. You're an absolute fucking victim. Now, I lost a lot of respect for Simon, yeah, when he turned up, when he doorstepped me old mate Axel, yeah? Now, that was between them, but I saw that as a bit of a snidey move, and a bit of bullying, because who was the first one to report on this incident? Video Craig, of course, sat there grinning like a fucking Cheshire cat. Yeah, so Simon, look, what an absolute wimp. What an absolute tosser. Fucking hell, where do we find them? That's why I've always said, this country is not fit to go to war. Men are not men anymore in this country. Men are not going to stand there and swing it out, you know what I mean? You got extorted by two men, you know what I mean? And then you had little Andy Smith and his comfort blanket coming on gloating, and you still done nothing. And the story was so confusing anyway. Why did you need that AI to do that? Why couldn't if you have talked yourself? It would have seemed a bit more sincere, if you get me, Simon, you can't be trusted. You come across as a bit of a sneaky so-and-so, if you get me, and I'm being polite. Your story has got more holes than a fucking fishing net. Honestly. Yeah, about you had the watch and then you tried to claim the watch on the insurance and it was a fake watch. You offered him the fake watch, but then you tried to make it was a real watch. Then you tried to sell it to... You fucking lost me there with this fucking watch, mate. Jesus Christ. What the bloody watch? Was the watch real or not? I take it was a fake. A bit like you. You absolute victim. You victim. Do you know what I mean? And you're running fight clubs. And you've got security. And and I always said you was an egg on legs. I always said that you weren't the real deal. But you came on thinking you was actually part of that world. Like the underground fighting world. And I was part of that world for fucking years. Alright, many, many moons ago. And you're not one of them type of people, Simon. You're not streetwise. That's no pun intended. But you're not streetwise. That's why as soon as you come up against two men, you know what I mean, you flapped it. You absolute flapped it. You should have went out swinging, mate. And you should have said, no, I ain't paying you a penny. Do your worst, you know what I mean. This year's Coward of the Country award definitely goes to Simon Blood. Simon Blood sang the war. Simon Blood had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Simon Blood back together again. Simon, you're a wimp. Enough said, mate. Don't come back on YouTube. You've shamed yourself. You've shamed your family. You've shamed every red-blooded male. Do you know what I mean? Decker was right. You can't be trusted. God bless. Good evening.